It seems like at this point, the MO Epic has is doing a shorter season for every chapter and then following up with a short 1-month OT season. This time, it's centered on Chapter 2. This has been rumored for a while. From my point of view, it's botched, and it feels like on top of desecrating the legacy of the game, Epic hasn't learned their lessons from OG. The season was introduced by the soft Chapter 5 end event, although I'd consider Remix to be an extension of it. Not just according to me, the whole thing was disappointing. Not only has Epic stuck their guns to trying to run a live event in BR modes, they downgraded a big event to a glorified livestream. This is a bit weird as I expected them to rerun the Galactus event to end the season. In my case, I initially crashed while waiting in the pre-event lobby thingy. They've made attempts to make the event watchable without griefing from other players. The event itself was held in restored reels, using the screen there to show the stream and providing some synchronized visuals that match the style of the event, which were okay, but nothing special. The actual stream shown was barely related to Fortnite, as it was just a live performance by Snoop Dogg and Ice Spice. Outside of Snoop saying Fortnite Gangsta Party and showing of the teaser trailer, it had nothing to do with the game itself. This focus on celebrities has carried into the game too. The bus is plastered with drawings of musicians, as well as certain POIs being themed around them. To me, this feels like desecrating them. While I'm more critical of it than most, the Ice Spice Shark POI, nowadays called the Shard, got roasted by the community. While the idea of this season is a remix of early Chapter 2, it feels like a cheap ad for a celebrity to change a POI to be themed around them. Brand integrations cheapen a game that didn't have them back then, and show which way the things are headed. The updates are meant to follow new seasons. The Season 2 update added the Spaghetti Grotto, themed around Eminem EU, with him being the buster, and a mythic themed around him, which is a minigun that plays a part of Rap God when shot, or nothing when the copyrighted audio is disabled. Then, the Ice Spice got her POI and a renamed Mythic Scar. The update for Season 3 added a new non-boss POI, and instead put this world in the skybox, and branded the track cannon after him. It's by far the laziest thing this season, as it's just putting a paint jump on it, making splashes from it colorful, and plays a short part of its songs when picked up. It feels like it had the least amount of effort put in possible. One thing worth mentioning is the sheer size of the update. It was 79 gigabytes for me on PC, and because of Epic servers for the Epic Game Store being a bit dodgy, it took me about 5 hours to download the update, despite being on a solid gigabit connection. Surprisingly, I haven't had issues with downloads stopping or being slow at times when updating the mobile version, even though it's not simply using some third-party service outside of Epic's control. I don't know why the update was so massive, but I know it's not just so large that people with forced internet connections might have had a really bad time. The servers that delivered the update were layering extra problems to make the download experience worse. Not having gold also introduced an issue of how to handle the idea of hiring NPCs. Epic felt that it was good enough to keep them around, so they decided that defeating a boss doesn't just drop the mythic and the old school keycard that takes up an inventory slot, but also the defeated boss ends up effectively behaving as a hired NPC. The mythics themselves are pretty much what you'd expect, but I'm not the biggest fan of the Eminem minigun blasting his obnoxious music when shot with copyrighted music enabled. Of course, this is because I hate the guy for making awful music and falling off extremely fast. Now, onto the game itself. This season is pretty disappointing and somehow even more butchered than OG. The loot pool has issues, especially with getting healing items. Big pots are hard to come by, as well as any good whites. This devolved to a point where me and other people picked Slurpee Swamp as their drop just to use all the slurp there to get full shields quickly and save any healing items found looting there for later. While such a POI didn't exist in OG, the same issue existed there, and I'm shocked Epic hasn't learned their lesson. When it comes to other items in the loot pool, fighting all the weapons you'd want can take more time than you'd expect. Off-spawn fights are extremely luck-based. Not only do you have to find a weapon, it better be a good one. When it comes to chests, their density is pretty low, and even with them, fighting certain weapons is rare. I've been struggling with fighting shotguns, especially earlier into this season. Another issue that both OG and Remix have is not doing much to make the map and the game in general work in zero build. This time, gold got removed from Battle Royale, and upgrade benches and vending machines that take mats as payment are simply gone from zero build, removing a whole feature from the game when it could have been easily adapted to use gold the same way it did in Chapter 3. The sheer size of the map, mobility, and lack of hard cover on the rolling hills in between POIs just doesn't work in zero build at all. The map itself hasn't aged well. It's massive, full of empty space for build fights, and has a bunch of rather big named locations. With limited mobility options, navigating it becomes a chore quickly. While vehicles exist, fuel stations are rare, and most cars are of the slow variety. In fact, some players are outraged that there's no way to utilize SUV skins in the game at the moment. Both new Cadillac and Whips have hydraulics now, letting them jump, which replaces the handbrake bind. It's also glitchy and even had an exploit letting people get quite high up by abusing the jump mechanic. Chopas were reintroduced too, with a mistake mistake by Epic early on, where they got at it for a little bit before they were meant to. The biggest problem they have is that they run out of fuel quite quickly and it's not easy to come by, meaning that you're likely to use them to rotate once or twice instead of relying on them to key a lobby. The mobility selection in game is pretty underwhelming. It consists of 2 items, the grappler and impulse grenades. Grapplers have 20 uses in BR now, and impulses are obviously a hindrance to any meaningful movement with the fact that they do nothing about fall damage. Later into the season, the impulses got replaced with shockwaves, doing very little to make things better. Of course, the map itself is the whole point of the season, and the flaws it has will be preserved to a degree. However, I think some changes could have been kept in place. For example, add gold, at least in zero build, and use it for upgrade benches to keep that feature in place. Adding more mobility items and maybe making fuel last longer would also help. Storm circles could also be tweaked to keep the lobbies tighter rather than filling the game with a bunch of empty time, making it feel like a scuffed PUBG ripoff that it technically is. The Battle Pass was made incredibly short this time. It features very few skins, and the V-Bucks you get back have been also knocked down all the way down to 1000, meaning that you only get 50 on top of what you spent this season. Grinding the Battle Pass has been made incredibly quick to do. On the topic of the Battle Pass, Epic is changing it a bit starting next season, bumping the price and I assume changing how many V-Bucks you get in return. Epic has introduced some of the Battle Pass changes a bit earlier than they intended. All modes now give you EXP directly, including Festival. The only rewards that require you to play Battle Royale now are the weekly rewards, and the secret skin uses them instead of dedicated quests. The Festival Pass has been renamed to the Music Pass and is earned via Battle Pass experience now. The price has been knocked down to 1400 V-Bucks, which is one of the few positives. Bonus rewards are gone too. Despite the festival season lasting into the next season of BR, it's been made incredibly short. I managed to finish it on the first day of Remix, before I even hopped on Festival. I guess I appreciate that Epic got rid of the mindless grind. The season of Festival is just fine. The new stage is cool, and the updates are mostly related to UI and quality of life. There's now a progress bar showing how far you are into a song, as well as breaks in it for your part for main stage. This feature has been a pretty basic thing that's been missing from this mode until now, so it's a welcome change. Bell stage got UI showing how high of a score you can get with each part, so the meta is a bit more approachable. Media streaming got quite a bit faster, and they added the UI showing when players are still waiting to stream in the song that's being played. None of these changes have addressed the broken engine for pro parts. Hopos are still as broken as they used to be. The song selector UI is still as awkward as it has been, and there's no proper way to navigate the game with a guitar. I hope Harmonix gets around to address the issues with Pro Lead and bass sooner than later, but I wonder what their priorities are on that front, especially with the rumors of pro drums support. The festival season is themed around Snoop, which is fine. He has a skin in the Music Pass that's pretty mediocre, especially compared to the store skin. The pass features more jam tracks, which is a nice thing. The charts coming out of the season seem to be overall good. So the quality issue seems to have been resolved, as it's been multiple seasons where I have had no complaints about charting. With how quick to grind out the Battle Passes, I haven't had to touch Save the World this season. However, I had to play Rocket Racing to unlock jam tracks. Some of them have been out for a while, but I waited till Remix dropped to get the XP along the way. The mode still stacks as much as it used to, and nowadays it's surprisingly easy to do unintended spins, although they've not been caused by colliding with other players. Dailies can be a grind, but there are no broken quests. The mode is still in a state where I only play it when I'm forced to, and I would consider it to be a low-key form of torture. Reload has received a new map. It's desert-themed and brings back the reimagined versions of Chapter 1 POIs. Paradise Palms is the central POI on the map, kind of ruining it for me. As much as it's my favorite from Athena, the new map is a disaster though. The way terrain is shaped has some places where mobility items are a must in zero build, and I've seen at least one endgame stall out for quite a bit because focusing around a spot where one player ran out of mobility and was forced to wait for zones to pull one way or another to have the final fight continue or die in storm. I'm surprised Epic let this happen, especially with a modern map made with zero build in mind. There was also an incident where reload was disabled for a day due to a bug with how UEFN and loading maps works, although at least they had the decency to breed the old map, although on a 30-minute rotation, where everyone queues up into whichever map is the current one. The contrast between the old map and the new one is quite stark, and I pretty much only enjoy the old one, and the second it flips over to the new one, I lose interest in playing Reload. The competitive side of things is pretty weird. Because of how bad the season is, as well as the health issue that popped up during this season, I skipped out on tournaments outside of the ranked cup for Brawler. Cars seems to be enabled this time, as well as buses. This is simply weird, and the zero build mode is simply not fun due to the reasons mentioned above. The event event was pretty mid. It started at the Snoop Agency POI and just was a bunch of pre-recorded Fortnite skins of artists performing. Pretty boring and just kinda messing with the legacy of some older events by turning them into glorified ads. Epic obviously had some technical mishaps too. I had to restart the game to queue in and then the countdown was off, so once it ran down I was stuck waiting a bit at the beginning soon counter. Overall, I had no idea how they managed to drop the ball harder than OG did. This season just shows to me how little Epic cares about improving their game based on past mistakes or having a good experience overall. I seriously doubt this season was in the works when OG was being made, so they definitely had time to course correct, especially with minor details like the loot pool and probabilities of getting certain items. Now, for the off-script me, I forgot to mention one thing. There was a long-lasting issue where the game was constantly lagging for considerable periods of time, like probably around a second of just completely freezing. It was making the game annoying and I've died to it at least once. Anyway, that's all from me. Meow meow.